Black supremacy. I guess I'm going in on my topic. This page on fire. So I guess that means I should go in on my topic. Let me let the room fill up. Let me let y'all pull up on this page. Homeschooling, unschooling, and any schooling is all fooling till blacks are ruling. That's what I'm going in tonight on. Homeschooling, unschooling, private schooling, any schooling is all fooling until blacks are ruling. Talk black to me. I like the way that sounds. Homeschooling, unschooling, private schooling, any schooling, all fooling until blacks are ruling. What do I mean when I say that? We talk about educating our children and homeschooling them. Any type of schooling of them is completely to appeal to this society that is ruled by white supremacy today. We want to convince the white man that we are giving our children the minimal or maximal education outside of the institutions, public school, magnet school, private school, whatever, charter school, with homeschooling. We want to say, look, I'm teaching my own child, and it is effective, and I'm educating them on my own. But I am doing it for you. And that's why I'm calling it school, because don't get it twisted. It's for you. It will meet your standards in the end. It will meet your quotas in the end. It will meet your criteria in the end. I might call it black schooling. I might call it unschooling. But I want you to know, it's going to meet your criteria. They are going to be prepared to be institutionalized by you, to be a part of your institutions, to go to your university, to go to your colleges, for some to go to your high schools. They're going to be prepared to be able to do so with this education that I give them. That's what you are saying. So while you say that it is homeschooling, its significance, or I would say the importance of what you're doing, is that it prepares them to function within white supremacy, to be accredited, to be accepted, to be qualified by white supremacy. That is the end game. And that's all that matters with any type of schooling that you do. To the point that if you don't do that, no schooling that you do even matters and is worth being called schooling in this society. Because when they look to see if your children are educated, they're not going to look to see how much black stuff they know, how much black history they have, how independent they are, how sovereign they are, how revolutionary they are, how rebellious they are, how cultured they are, how Afrocentric they are. The institutions of white supremacy, the government, they do not care They only want to know one thing. Does this child meet the criteria of what we consider to be educated? The rest means nothing. So there's only one type of schooling in this society that is accepted. That matters. One type of schooling. And that's fooling yourself to believe that you're doing anything other than being under white supremacy. You setting yourself up for a trap to believe that you're doing something different, when the end game is to prepare them for white supremacy and to prove that they're just as knowledgeable, just as up to date as other children who are being bombarded with the curriculums of white supremacy. You have to prove that this child is going to be able to function within that. That's the whole job of it. Now, in this society, some people have said that we are second-class citizens. We are wards of the states. We are still children. We are not free. Of free people, and of people that are not free, cannot design a free curriculum. Of people that are not free cannot invent a free curriculum. They must make up a curriculum that ultimately appeals to their oppressors. These are the facts. Until we free, we cannot educate anyone on freedom for blacks, and it's not free to do. We're not even free to do that. That we will go through a warfare to give our children an education that is liberating. We would have to go to war to do that, because we're not free now. We are still wards of the state. We are still under the jurisdiction of white supremacy. They're still our bosses. They still are our police. They still are our statesmen. We are under them in this society. So until we free ourselves, all we can do is hand down our slavery, pass down our oppression, pass on our oppression. There's only two educations that you can offer people: white supremacy or black supremacy. What's the difference? White supremacy is the education that makes them be able to function and exist within white supremacy, to get a job, to get an institution, to make them competitive, to be able to thrive in corporate America. That's the white supremacy education. The black supremacy education is one that makes them aware of the war that we're in, the war for freedom and the war for liberation, and weaponizes their minds, weaponizes their hearts, weaponizes their soul and their spirit to be on the front line, to fight for freedom and liberation alongside their parents, their guardians, their mother and father, those who are as equally oppressed as they are. The status of the black man in this country is equal to the status of our children. We have no special or particular authority. We are all under white supremacy in this society. So they're even getting an education to fight that, an education to rebel against that, an education to end white supremacy, or they are being indoctrinated with white supremacy by any other name that you want to call it. In most cases, these children are going to be indoctrinated by white supremacy with black flavor. When you talk about homeschool, private school, unschooling, it's just a black flavored ice cream. But it's still cream. It's just got black flavor on it. Like people nowadays don't even want to say they're black. They want to say they're melanated. So you're a melanated white man? They don't want to say they're black. They just like a human being with a melanated flavor on it. With like, just like a little chocolate icing, I guess. They're not black. So their education is melanated white supremacy. It's not an education to destroy white supremacy. To end it, it's melanated white supremacy. So what they're doing is either delusional in thinking that they are preparing their children to be competitive in white supremacy by homeschooling them, or either they are literally trying to rebel against white supremacy, or they're going to conform to white supremacy completely to engage in that, to establish some type of future in that. Those are the only three things that they really could do. So you say you're homeschooling your child. You're not. You're just schooling them from home. Schooling them on white supremacy. If you're not, then you're not seeking any validation or certification at any point from white supremacy. If you intend on them gaining any validation or certification or qualification from white supremacy at some point, all you are really going to be schooling them on is white supremacy, or you're going to operate under the auspices of schooling them under white supremacy, but they will not be prepared because they will be in for a rude awakening when they realize that, hold up, I got a lot of black knowledge, but I wasn't ready for this corporate exploitation. I wasn't ready to really get inside this human farm. I thought I had an above average curriculum. Because I was taught at home, I thought maybe I would be more effective to operate in white supremacy than the average person. And then they in for a rude awakening. They're not prepared. All that black stuff not gonna matter. See, the black part of homeschooling, the black part of education, even in private school, it don't matter when you get to corporate America. They don't care about the black stuff. They just care, are you able to bow down to white supremacy? Are you able to follow instructions and bow down to their authority? Do you know how to do what you are told when it comes to white supremacy and these institutions and corporations? That's all they care about. They don't care about how many black history figures you know about black history. They don't care about anything that you learn in an alternative Afrocentric based curriculum. They do not care about that. They just want to know, can you follow the instructions of white supremacy? That's it. And you learning the little math that you learn, and you learning the basic grammar and all that, only proves one thing to them: that you're able to follow directions, that you're able to merge into the consensus reality of white supremacy. That's all it means. That you did what you was told. You learned this math, you learned this subtraction, this algebra, whatever, and this grammar. So we say, well, dang, well, you can do what you're told. Great. You're hired. All school means is that you have been domesticated and broken to be able to be used and exploited effectively by corporate America. That's all it means. It's not about higher learning. You thought school was about learning? Get the fuck out of here. It's just to make sure that you follow the instructions of white supremacy. That's it. So if you teaching your children and you homeschooling them, are you preparing them to follow the instructions of white supremacy and to bow down to the institutions? Oh, you are. Because you're bowing down with their guidelines, rules, and regulations and seeking validation from them. So if you're bowing down to white supremacy, what the hell are you homeschooling them for anyway? You might as well send them to school like everybody else and just bow down to white supremacy. What's the difference? Everybody I know that's homeschooling is just simply trying to prove that their child is just as broken and just as domesticated and just as qualified to be exploited by corporations as every other child. That's what I've noticed. That's the consistency. They're quick to say, well, he's smarter. Look, he competes. He knows Columbus discovered America better than anybody else. I'm teaching. So there's no schooling, no matter what type of school you do, if it's not preparing them for white supremacy. And there's only two ways to be prepared for white supremacy. One, you're going to bow down to it. And two, you're going to rebel all the days of your damn life. Some of these people talk about homeschooling and private schooling, and you think that they waging a rebellion, that they waging a Nat Turner rebellion from the home. They waging a Nat Turner rebellion from their university, private school, or whatever. But you find out they're not. They're making you competitive. They're making these children competitive within corporate America. So they can be scouted, and recruited into the very institutions that capitalistically exploit our communities and support and sponsor the institutions that destroy our community, that your children will be recruited by them. Talk black to me. Homeschooling, unschooling, private schooling is all fooling until blacks are ruling. You're sending your children off. When they go fill out that application and that resume, they're not going to ask you, do you know who Marcus Garvey is? They're not going to ask, do you know who the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is, or Noble Jew Ali, or Prophet Noble Jew Ali? They're not going to ask that. How many plants can you name? How many vegan recipes can you cook on your own? They don't care. Can you follow the instructions of this devil, of this beast, of this corporation? Can you sell your soul? Do you have the mark of the beast in your head? That's all they want to know. So quit pretending like you're doing something different from somebody else, unless you really are doing something different from somebody else. But every time I talk to them, they say, we're doing the same thing. Our children are going to be better. Their SAT score is going to be higher. They're going to be this, that, and that. So they're going to be better fit for white supremacy than people that's being fit for white supremacy. What are you telling us? They're not telling us that these children is going to grow up and end white supremacy, destroy imperialism, obliterate colonialism, smash oppression, eradicate the idea of white superiority. Nah. They're going to have higher, their SAT score is going to be higher than everybody else's. Stop. Stop. You can open up a black academy. You can black homeschool. But just know when they get to white supremacy, the black part going to get dropped. It's not going to matter. Even if you go to this day, if your children go to college and they go to a HBCU, it don't matter. It doesn't matter if they go there. They don't care. They want to know, well, what accreditation you got? How well was you able to follow the instructions? Your grades show one thing, not how smart you are, how you were able to comply. How well you are able to obey and go along. That makes you a great specimen to be one of our corporate slaves. They don't want to know how artistic and intelligent and creative you are. Every institution within corporate America wants the same thing. Follow, obey, submit. comply, consume. They all want the same thing. So what are you homeschooling them on? Why is the word school important? Because you don't want to rebel. You want to half rebel. You want to be on the fence. You want to act like you're conscious. Act like you're awakened. Act like you're pro-black. Act like you're against white supremacy. But then you're on the fence. You still want to show that no, we're competitive. We're still within white supremacy. Now don't get it twisted. Make up your goddamn mind. Make up your mind. Are you against this system or not, man? Are you against white supremacy or not? Are you against it or not? And if you're against it, you got to be free first. You have to be the freedom fighter first. And that's the example that you present to your children. If you still a ward of the state, if the corporations is still your parent, regulating you and telling you what to do, how you gonna have a freedom homeschool? How you gonna have one? You are still a child. You're still under custody. You can't leave the country without the permission of your corporate parents. The white man wants to know everything you do. Every dollar you spend. Every move you make. You're a child. How can a child teach another child? Only thing a child can teach another child how to do is to follow. Unless it's a rebellious child that's coming with peer pressure and influence to go against and do something other. But not only are you a child of white supremacy, you're a child of these corporations. You're not even a rebellious child. Because you don't have the heart to rebel. Every time your master every time you see your master looking at you, you say, "No, sir, we's doing what we's supposed to be doing now, sir. Don't think, master, because we's at home, you know what I'm saying, that he's not learning what he's supposed to learn. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing. And matter of fact, master, he's doing it better. He's a bit smarter than the other Negroes on your plantation." Stop. Please. Homeschooling, unschooling, any schooling is all fooling till blacks are ruling. I know you're scared of the government. You're scared of them, so you want to play that. You want to play the game. You want to be half in. You just want to put your foot in the water to just test the temperature of revolution. No, you got to jump all the way in. And when you jump all the way into black supremacy, you jump all the way out of white supremacy. This is a fact. So the end game of your homeschooling is for your child to be accepted, validated, accredited, and certified within white supremacy, then what you're doing is no different from what the institution of white supremacy is doing, but you're doing it voluntarily, which makes you more of a slave than the people that are in the public schools. Because a lot of people that send their children to school do so because they believe they are forced to do so. They do it under stress, duress, and coercion. And they're ignorant as to that they have the ability to do something else. But you are voluntarily keeping your child at home to voluntarily comply and be complicit with white supremacy. You doing that voluntarily, which makes you way more asleep. Even though you think you're conscious, you are even way more asleep than the sleep people. You're just dreaming that you're woke. You're awoke in a dream. That's an inception. When you woke in a dream, and actually believe you woke, you're in an inception, which is a deeper level of sleep. Then you open up a black school, and you're voluntarily going to teach white supremacy. You voluntarily are going to meet the minimum requirements of white supremacy. You voluntarily makes it qualified and consistent with the criteria of your exploiters. You are more asleep than people who do not even make it to take their children to school on time. A person that is late taking a child to school is more rebellious than you. Talk black to me. Homeschooling, unschooling, any schooling is fooling. It's all white supremacy. It's all to meet the mandate. And if it don't, you got a problem. If you don't meet that mandate, then you bet you're an all-out rebel. And not only you're a rebel, you're waging a successful rebellion because you can actually hold it down. But I'm telling you all want to meet the mandate of white supremacy, the criteria. And some of you all, you even want validation from white supremacy. You wouldn't even feel like you achieved anything or anything that you're doing has value, is worth anything unless it's validated by white supremacy or any Negro flunky that represents white supremacy or believes in it. It has to be validated by them. You're wasting your time. If you're not teaching your children an education and a knowledge to overthrow their oppressors, to overthrow white supremacy, then what you're teaching is no different than any other institution that is propagating white supremacy. You're doing it differently. You're teaching white supremacy in an alternative way. It's still white supremacy based on its end game, based on where it's going. That's my dissertation. I want to take some questions. And I want to hear y'all perspective. Well, yeah, let me take some questions. We can build on this. But I'm telling you that either you're rebelling or you're not. Either you're against white supremacy or you're not. You don't meet the minimum requirements of being a slave. You don't meet the minimum requirements of being regulated by your oppressor. And if you find yourself forced to do that, then it's like you got to do what you got to do. But you realize that you're being forced. You're not gonna propagate that as though you somehow are not under white supremacy and something that you're doing is freer, is more Afrocentric, is more blacker, is more this. And in reality, all that's just a flavoring. It's melanated, but it ain't black. What I'm doing to help black people, I'm waking y'all up right now. Rebel means that the people who told you how to go and pick the cotton, told you needed to work out in the plantation, that you will no longer listen to them anymore. That's what all rebellion is. In 1819, they was telling you to pick cotton. In 2019, they telling your ass to do something too. Are you still listening? Are you still doing what they telling you to do? Or are you rebelling? The rebellion's already been started. already been started. I'm not starting a rebellion. The rebellion's already been started. And the rebellion must start in your own life. No one can rebel for you. You have to say no. Yeah, if I didn't respond to your comment, you can retype it. The same devil that's telling you to do something in 1817 is still telling you what to do today. And you're going along with it and you following it. But some of you say you're doing it in a black way. You following white supremacy Afrocentrically. You following white supremacy alternatively. But you still following the same crackers telling you what to do from 1817. Some of us said no in 1817. We was in them fields with them machetes. We said no in 1817. And we saying no today. Be clear that if you are going against, I'm just saying, hey, I'm not judging anyone. I know what we're up against as a people. I'm saying just be clear on what being against white supremacy is, and don't think there's a gray area. Kwame Ture said it best. It's either hot or cold, wet or dry, black or white. There is no middle ground. So I just want you all to be clear that if you think your homeschooling is something so alternative and something so radical and something so different and this, that, and the other, that a lot of you are lying to yourself and fooling yourselves and playing directly into the hands of your enemy. That's all I'm saying. And a lot of you getting hoodwinked and bamboozled with that idea. It's just white supremacy with an afro. White supremacy with a dashiki on. It's like I said, you just melanated. It's just flavored. You're just flavoring your white supremacy. That's all. You must rebel. And start saying no. That means, your curriculum when you wake up with your child in that day, your curriculum is no, 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 and no when it comes to white supremacy. That's the basis of your curriculum. They learn no to white supremacy before they even learn their alphabets. Huh? They learn how to say no from white supremacy before they even know how to count 1, 2, 3. Before they can add and subtract. The first thing they subtract is white supremacy, and the first thing they add is black supremacy. Talk black to me, man. There's no alternative. It's opposition. You can't look for an alternative. You have to look for the opposition. Alternative it's just another way of doing the same thing. Opposition is to completely go against something that is not in your favor, and you have to go against it because it's coming at you. It is forcing you to be regulated by it and to live, to acknowledge and embrace its agenda. It's forcing you to do that. It's forcing you to comply. So you can't be alternative to a force. You have to be oppositional. And the opposition scares people. Because they I don't want to be in opposition. I don't want to be, well, you're going to be in slavery. Well, you're going to be under them. You're going to do what they say do. And as you continue on your path of opposition, i.e. rebellion, It turns into organized opposition, organized rebellion, and then we begin to win on certain fronts, and our rebellion turns into a conquest, and then we begin to conquer, and we begin to stand our own ground, and then we begin to take over, and then we begin to redefine, and then we move into power and rulership as a people. But it all starts with opposition. You all are scared of opposition. You don't even want to look opposed to. It's not that I'm against white supremacy. I just want to teach my children at home. I just want to do it in a certain way. I want to do it in my own way. I'm not against. Don't think I'm against it. God damn it, we're against it. We're against white authority, white regulations. We're against the white man that had us in chattel slavery and chains, that hung our ancestors having any say and anything to do with our lives and well-beings. If you freed us, as it says so well in the Emancipation Proclamation, if we've been freed, leave us to ourselves. Get away from us and take your flunky-ass Negroes with you. If some Negroes want to be under slavery and follow your rules and regulations, take them with you. Not us, though. We don't want the people that hung our ancestors to have any say whatsoever under democracy, under a republic, under communism, under socialism, under Marxism. We don't want no devil to have no say-so in anything that we have going on. We want our freedom and independence from white people as it goes to our affairs. And that's black nationalism. That's being our own nation. No way the devil that hung your ancestors should be having any say-so in your life, the life of you, your child, their education, and any of that. That's a fact. We don't want them to be a part of it at all. They have no say. We reject you from the authority, the continuous authority that you have exercised over us for over the last 200 years, 400 years. We reject that authority, and we are coming into our own power, our own realization of who we are. And that is what we will implement. And that is what we should be implementing in our homes, with our children, with our families. Not no alternative white supremacy, not nothing that looks like white supremacy, trying to appeal to white supremacy, or none of that, man. We reject them and any of their notions, any of their advice, suggestions, opinions, paradigms, constructs. They're all rejected, because you the same mind that had us enslaved, that stripped us of our freedom. You the same mind, the same pale face. We reject you. We're teaching rejection of white supremacy. Yeah, we becoming independent. Grow your own food. Learn how to be independent. Create your own power. Learn how to get out of them and get away from them. Get them off you. Not need them. Get them out your face. Get them away from you. And deal with them if necessary, if you have to. Learn how to deal with them if you have to. That's not an alternative. That's opposition. The fact that you got to keep even saying school. What was we calling it in Africa before colonialism and imperialism? Was it called school? It was just called the village doing what they doing. It was called the village doing. Just the fact that you got to call it some type of school today, that shows that you're trying to be complicit with your enemy, man. You're trying to be validated by your oppressor. Why you even got to say school? Just say ascension. Say elevation. Say higher self apprenticeship. Why you even got to use the word school? Because you know what? You want to let Master know. I's still doing what I's supposed to do, Master. I's show you. Homeschooling, unschooling, any schooling, it's all fooling. Unless blacks is ruling. Keep that in mind. Yes, being at home is not getting them out your face. I agree with you. But doing everything to get them out your face is doing everything to get them out your face. And anything you should, if they're not out your face, the totality of every fiber and every iota of your being should be to get them out of your face. Before you school, before you entertain, before you sing, before you dance, before you dress, before you eat, before you sleep. The major and most predominant focus in your mind should be to get their ass up out your goddamn face. Talk black to me. Everything you do is teaching your children. And you teaching them how to be a coon and how to follow the instructions of white supremacy. That's the main curriculum. A child cannot not learn. That's bullshit. A child is absorbing and soaking information by the millisecond. They can do nothing but learn. That is a fallacy. That education is isolated to a certain particular type of infrastructure or interface. That's bullshit. That is a particular type of education that's gearing them for a particular type of exploitation. They cannot not learn. If they see you shooting an AR-15, they gonna pick up that AR-15 and shoot. If they see you with the red, black, and green, they gonna pick up the red, black, and green. They cannot not learn. They watch every single thing you do. And what they watching that you doing is being a sucker, a coon. That's what they learning. They learning that mama ain't gonna go against master. I see daddy ain't gonna go against master either. That's what they learning. Drop the word off black school when it's white accredited. Stop saying black school. That's like a black president. Just say president. Just say CEO of a white corporation. Because that's the quotas. That is the criteria. That is the purpose. And the objective is white supremacy. So why are you still saying black school? If they're not giving them a curriculum specifically to make them revolutionaries, making them become tactical, skilled, and strategical in maintaining their survival against their oppressors, it's nothing black about it. Which of these home schools is teaching counter police terrorism to their children? That should be the number one curriculum right now, since they say the number one killers or causers of black death is being shot down by the police. The main basis of your homeschooling should be counter police terrorism. Huh? You teaching that? No, you ABC 1, 2, 3. You just gonna count. They just gonna be able to count how many bullets flying at their ass. They gonna be able to read the alphabets on the European corporations that's coming to kick in their goddamn dough. Are you really giving them an education of freedom, liberation, and revolution? An education to prepare them to deal with this onslaught, this manslaughter, and this warfare against blacks in America? Are you really educating them for that? Or you just taking school trips to the little old museum? Is it really a African-centered curriculum to overthrow colonialism and imperialism? Or it's just melanated, it's just flavored, it's just styled ethnically, just ethnically styled? Yes, I've heard of Dr. Umar Johnson. Question answered. Question answered. Heard Dr. Umar Johnson. Next. Homeschooling, unschooling, private schooling, any schooling is fooling until blacks are ruling. A slave can't teach another slave how to be free until they gain freedom first. So until we gain freedom first, all we got to teach is slavery. Or we teaching how to kick in doors and how to break chains? Are y'all teaching that in y'all homeschooling? How to break chains and kick in doors? How to liberate, how to free political prisoners? Are you teaching that? Because it doesn't look like it. Because all the homeschools since the history of black time in America, all the homeschools we've had, I ain't seen them produce one Negro that had the kahunas, the balls, the strategical mind to effectively and efficiently free one political prisoner. What is it producing? Judge a tree by the fruit that it bears. What type of fruit is coming from these home schools and these alternative schools? What fruit have they produced? Because when you talk about a lot of our black leaders, I mean, you talk about Elijah Muhammad, say he didn't make it past the 8th grade or the 3rd grade, and Malcolm didn't make it past the 8th grade. A lot of these leaders were considered uneducated and illiterate, but they were smart enough to realize who the enemy was. I think the most uneducated people are the most dangerous people in society because they have not been taught how to conform, how to obey and comply. So all they still have the resistance in them. To me, I think these educated people are broken. While they are very literate and well-spoken and articulate and probably well-mannered to most of you all, but I think they've been broken. They've been taught that the best thing to do is to comply, conform, and obey. And they do it very well, which is why they continue to progress within the system. They continue to ascend and achieve within the system because they do it very well. Compliance is greater than education. Notice, let's just look at the prison industrial complex. Let's just look at the system. Take your time. People don't get out of jail because they be reformed. They let people out of jail on good behavior because they're willing to sit in there and shut the fuck up and comply. Huh? Once they see that people gonna shut the fuck up and comply and just accept white supremacy hand downs and that they can be regulated and totally dominated by the institution, then they let them out. If you're willing to comply and just go along with whatever your oppressor wants you to do and however he wants you to be, that's how you progress within white supremacy. The smarter person don't get the job, the most obedient one does. Let's keep it real. It's not that completely educated. It's like, why you got a PhD, but you unemployed? Oh, because you a little bit rebellious? Because that PhD makes you think you was a smart nigga? And you offend people? Because since you think you so smart, you don't obey as quick as a lesser educated person, so you end up being unemployed? Because nigga, you think you somebody? Don't care if you got a PhD or not. Are you going to obey? I'm the boss. That's what we up against. People are not getting hired because of their education and their amount of intelligence or any of that. It's because they're willing to obey and comply. And the basis of the education system that we have in this country is to make sure that it produces human farms those who will comply and obey to keep the system of white supremacy going. And you are agreeing that you're going to somehow do that from your home, or at least make the system feel that you're sufficiently and effectively doing that from your home. Because if you don't, it really wouldn't be considered homeschooling. It really wouldn't be validated or accredited. Why not? Even if they allow you to do it. In certain states like Texas, where there are no homeschool regulations, just reading, math, arithmetic, and good manners, they allow you to do it. But guess what? Even though you're allowed to do that and it's not so regulated, the litmus test is going to be when you try to survive and thrive within society. You try to go get a job or continue your education, seek accreditation or validation from society. That's when the challenge is going to arise. At that point, you're going to realize the difference between what the homeschool really meant or what it really didn't mean. That will be the point. Did it produce a good enough slave for the corporations or not? That's a fact. But I want to take some questions, if you all have any, or comments. But that was my topic tonight. Homeschooling, unschooling, and any schooling is all fooling until blacks are ruling. Rebel now. Reject white supremacy now. If not, I don't see why you wouldn't send your children to just regular school. Because that would make them competitive with white supremacy. In white supremacy, it'll expose the dog-eat-dog situation that this society has become. The greed, the competitiveness. That will be preparing them if they actually went to a regular school, because that's really what they're up against. The same competitive, greedy, the same competitive environment that they experience within the public food system is what they will experience in corporate America. The same type of stuff. So you're not preparing them to deal with the world in a black way. You really want them to be successful in anything that they would do. You want them to know the challenges that are real so that they can be effective to dealing with those challenges. You don't want to try to just shelter them in some black way, but in the end they still going to have to conform to white supremacy. They won't be prepared to do that, because they will think there's a black way to deal with white supremacy, and that's not true. You're either with it or against it. This is King Noble Black Supremacy. Join my website, www.kingnoblepblacksupremacy.com. Donate and don't hate. I'll be black at you.